Hi everyone. I'm sorry if I look a little bit unkempt, but look, it's 10 to 1 in the morning and I've been watching on the news the events of the day. Let me make sure that I'm on. Okay, if you guys can hear me, please tell me. Um, I couldn't go to sleep tonight before I expressed my absolute disgust and shock at the storming of the Capitol today. And now that I've seen more of the images, having watched the news and watching the proceedings in the Senate and Congress about the certification of the election, um, there is no American who cannot be so disturbed, saddened, depressed, angry at what happened today. A group of violent thugs stormed the seat of American democracy. And I've spoken about it throughout the day as soon as it happened. And hopefully you've seen my comments on it. And the real shock that I experienced, and even how I was trying to explain to my kids what happened. But I'll tell you, um, what saddens me so much is how many of you are writing on comments on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter to me that, well, that's what happens when you try to close off the Capitol to the people, to the public. Those are the consequences of stealing an election. Seriously? That's your reaction? Do you not love this country? Do you really want this to happen here in the United States of America? I'm not here to tell you how I voted in the presidential election because it doesn't matter. Because anyone and everyone who voted, and I hope that you voted, exercised their constitutional rights to participate in a democracy and to choose a candidate of their choice, of their conviction. But right after the media confirmed that, including conservative media, that Joe Biden had won the election, it was on a Saturday. Um, so when I could broadcast Saturday night, Shabbat, right after Shabbat ended, I congratulated President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. That all of this has happened since then, that our democracy is in such deep crisis because we can't accept the results of an election. And it was fine for the president to challenge the results in the courts because it's all lawful. I'm not going to say it was advisable. I'm not going to say it was the right thing to do. I'm going to say that it was lawful. And that's what we are, a nation of laws. But what happened today is so deeply disturbing. And that so many of you are writing to me and saying, not that you're sickened by what happened, but that the election was stolen. Not that you're sickened, that they're now reporting that 4 people died as a result of the violence today. One woman was shot and killed. I believe she was, if I'm not mistaken, a 14-year Air Force veteran. So a hero, she was killed, and then the 3 others died, they said, of medical complications. I don't know. I saw it flash across a TV screen. I don't know the details, but that we're not all sickened by what happened. A violent mob attacking the United States Congress, a violent mob invading the halls of Congress, a violent mob fighting with the police. How could you be writing to me now that this is what happens when you steal an election? No, this is not what happens. This is what happens in a banana republic. This is what happens in so many of the horrible countries where there's no democracy and no freedom, that America is always trying to correct, that America is preaching to them always that they have to respect the rights of their citizens, and you can't launch violent protests against the seat of government. You can use all lawful means. You can use peaceful demonstrations, peaceful protests. But how could we, any of you who aren't condemning this, honestly, I'm speaking to you at 1 a.m. because I'm just so disturbed. I'm just so sad. I'm sad for America. I'm sad for all of us. I'm sad for myself. I'm sad for my kids for having to watch this. And I'm sad for all of you who can't bring yourselves to condemn this violence. It's one thing for us to be partisan. It's one thing for us to root for the Yankees, root for the Red Sox, and never give the Yankees any credit if we're from Boston, and never give the Red Sox any credit if we're from New York. Okay, that's all partisanship and choosing a team and choosing a side. And of course, politics is much deeper than sports. It's fine to be part of a party. It's fine to embrace partisanship, even though I hope that we can transcend partisanship, but not to condemn evil. to allow our political partisanship to color not just our judgment, but our values, to blind us to right and wrong. If you can't condemn what happened today, if you're still justifying it, if you're still saying, well, those are the consequences of stealing an election, then I'm really sad for you. And I'm sad for America because I never thought it would get this bad. It was sad enough that we became so divided that Republicans and Democrats came to really hate each other, that conservatives and liberals, progressives came to despise each other. That was bad enough. But even then, it's an emotion of the heart, and hopefully it's not actioned. But the moment it's becomes something that is actioned, it's just shocking. And for all the people who are saying, well, what about all the riots in the summer? The people who were marching with, or purportedly marching with Black Lives Matter protests, and they burned down stores and looted stores. And of course that was terrible. Of course that was wicked. Of course that was unforgivable. But it's still not comparable to what happened today. I'll tell you why. Because Macy's and Best Buy are just not the same as the United States Capitol. Not that it's forgivable, not that riots and looting are ever forgivable, but the whataboutism, how does that justify what happened today? It really saddens me that, as a Jew, I'm speaking to you from the heart, as a Jew and as someone who has always shown public appreciation for everything that President Trump has done for Israel and to bring greater justice to the Middle East and to reject the Iran deal. And as a Jew who believes in gratitude and who is so grateful to President Trump for what he did, even for my Muslim brothers and sisters, in attacking Bashar al-Assad when he gassed Muslim children. It saddens me that the Trump presidency should end like this. This should not happen. This will cast doubt on everything that preceded it. This will give fodder and ammunition to anyone that wants to say, you see, this is where it was all leading. And how sad is that? Because there's never an excuse for violence. There's never an excuse to overturn an election. There's never an excuse to reject the will of the people. I ran for Congress in 2012. I ran as a Republican. I lost substantially. It didn't feel good. I didn't like it. It was painful. But I have to say, of all the speeches I gave through that, approximately 1 year or the many months that I ran for Congress in 2012, of the many speeches that I gave, I think that the last one that I gave, which I believe is on YouTube, my concession speech, the night of the election, which I believe that year was also November 3rd, but on the first Tuesday, it was a presidential year, 2012. Mitt Romney lost to Barack Obama. Barack Obama was reelected president. But when I lost to Congressman Bill Pascrell in the 9th District of New Jersey, it was painful. But I think that the most meaningful and maybe the best speech that I gave during that entire congressional run was my concession speech. If you see it, you will witness how I spoke of bowing to the will of the people and bowing to the majesty of the democratic process. How lucky I am to be an American, how lucky I am to run for Congress, and how lucky I am sometimes to even lose running for Congress, because it means that I engaged in the democratic process and I can salute that process by conceding my defeat when I lose and submit to the will of the people. How lucky am I to live in a country that is governed by the will of the people and not by the will of some dictator like Putin or a dictator or a dictatorial party, Communist Party in China, or living in Turkey, slowly being taken over by a dictator, Erdogan, or Venezuela. How lucky I am to be an American. And even though losing is painful, there's something majestic in being able to say, this is the will of the people, and I bow to the majesty of the democratic process. That did not happen. And I don't fault President Trump for challenging the election in the courts and lawfully, because that was his right. Again, I'm not getting into whether it was the right thing or the wrong thing, but so long as it's lawful, it's acceptable. But a mob that stormed the Capitol today violated every sense of decency. They violated every democratic norm. They violated goodness itself. They violated righteousness. They are an abomination. They are wickedness incarnate, what they did, disgusting to the core. And now a woman is dead and 3 others are dead, and I don't know all the details. and the Congress ransacked. And how could you, watching at home right now, not be shaken? I mean, even almost literally shaken, like shaking that this can happen in the United States of America. We become an embarrassment to the world. We, the beacon of freedom to the world. We, the light of liberty to the world. We, that great bastion of bravery, land of the free and home of the brave. We're an embarrassment to the world today. We Jews, I wear a yarmulke. I know that reflects on my Jewishness. I was taught since the time I was a child that I had to be a Kiddush Hashem, that I had to sanctify God's name in my actions. And Americans should think the same way. Everyone watches us. We're the greatest country in the world, thank God. We're the world's sole superpower. We're the most influential country in the world. We're the richest country in the world. We're the mightiest country in the world. Baruch Hashem, thank God, thank God, thank God. So the world is watching us. And what they saw today was an absolute disgrace. In fact, disgrace doesn't capture it. There are no words. And you might say, well, it was only a few hundred, a few thousand. They ransacked the capital of the United States of America. So, I'm beyond outrage now, and I'm kind of beyond shock. It saddens me that I've reached a point of real sadness, like despair. I know that America will awaken to a much better day tomorrow. I know things will, God willing, be restored to normal. I know that America is going to recover from this. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be shaken by what happened, because if we don't condemn it fully and completely, if we don't repudiate it utterly, then there exists the possibility that could happen again, God forbid, because we have not drawn a line in the sand to say utterly, completely, unalterably unacceptable. And that's what I'm saying here to all of you. Any supporter of President Trump, however you feel about this election, who can condone what happened today, has lost their moral compass. There is zero justification. Please don't give me the whataboutism. I hated the riots and the looting during the summer. They were horrible and awful, but even they are incomparable to what happened today when you attack the seat of government and threaten the very democratic institutions that give us the freedom, the liberty for me to be able to say whatever I want to say, to get on Facebook or any other platform and to express my views. Do you realize what a privilege that is? And that is all guaranteed because of our democracy, because of our Constitution, because of our Bill of Rights. And once those things are not sacrosanct, once they come under threat, even violently, even by a few hundred, a few thousand, and we're all at risk, it's an affront to God who wants man to be free. It's an affront to the human spirit that wants to breathe free. It's an affront to all the brave men and women who sacrificed their lives to keep us free. It's an affront to the founding fathers who rejected George III and British tyranny to make us free. It's an affront to all the soldiers who died in the Civil War to make sure that African American slaves would be free. It's an affront to the memory of Abraham Lincoln, who paid with his life to ensure that America would be free and unified. Please don't justify what happened today. Please condemn it completely and utterly. That need not mean that other aspects of a political legacy are wrong. It means that this is wrong and this is unacceptable. And it must be condemned by all men and women of conscience, all men and women of goodwill, all men and women of faith, and all who love freedom and democracy. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.